Hey, what's happening everyone? I am Sir James from Gamerfuzion.com, and today I'm here to provide you with my review for Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. This game has been out on consoles for quite some time now, but now PC users can rejoice and play the game for themselves with some slight improvements to the original one. Now, quickly going over the story mode is that you get to play as you, due to the fact that you get to create your own custom hero. Pretty much what happens in the very beginning of the game is that your peaceful village by the seashore happens to be under attack by a fire-breathing dragon. Unfortunately, everyone seems to be outmatched, but you take one last stand against the beast until you are knocked out cold. The beast realizes that you have done something to him and decides to take your heart and leave you with a terrible curse. You end up finding out that you happen to be this type of guardian who's also known as the Arisen, who's able to take control of these mysterious beings called pawns. You end up going on your journey to figure out how to lift the curse and to go from there, but of course that is up to you to figure out what happens next in the adventure. Now, going over the graphics, this game still holds up here in 2016. The game is not a remastered of the console version, instead it is a port from console to PC with some slight improvements. For example, you do have the noticeable visual improvements thanks to the power of the PC, where the forest area actually has a lot more greenery to it, the dungeons look a lot more creepier, and there's going to be some hidden locations in which you get to discover, which are going to look absolutely amazing, but that is for you to discover yourself. On top of that, this game also supports 4K resolution, and you also have the removed black bars from the top and bottom of the screen, but even now the game still holds up, and it was just really awesome to see, especially some of the cinematic shots that we got as cutscenes, including your own custom made avatar, which I thought was really nice. Now, quickly going over the gameplay isn't too complicated because it's more of an action game with some little RPG elements mixed in. Pretty much in the beginning of the game, after the short little prologue, is that you get to create your own unique custom character. The customization in the game isn't that deep, so you can't really get away with too many options, but there are some nice things that you can get away with if you take the time to do so. But pretty much after you create your custom character, you get to choose from 3 different vocations. You have a knight, which is able to attack and you deal heavy damage. You also have a hunter-based class that's able to use quicker attacks and of course attack enemies from a range by using a bow, and of course you also have a spellcaster which could range from different magical abilities and provide buff to your allies. Of course, you get to learn a little bit more about these vocations and some of the unique features which you get to discover, but pretty much from there you also have this unique pawn system. What's cool about the pawn system is that in a way it's kind of introducing a co-op segment, but not exactly. What I mean is that you get to create a custom pawn of your own, which is always going to be with you throughout your entire experience, so make sure you choose wisely. But of course, if you don't like the vocation your pawn is using or yourself, you could always change it up within the shop and learn new skills. But with this pawn system, basically what happens is that other players can recruit your pawn and you can recruit other people's pawns as well and incorporate them into your game, and they will help you out in battle. Because what's nice is that you're always going to have to mix up your different classes. It's not you pick one specific class and you stick with that. You're going to have to keep switching it up because you might be in a dungeon of some kind, or you might have an upcoming boss fight where they have a particular weakness. And what's nice is when your pawn is out on an adventure is that they're going to be learning new things. Like for example, maybe that player is battling an upcoming boss that you have yet to face, and now your pawn actually understands the weakness of this creature, in which she or he will relay the message back to you, and that pawn will also gain experience and even find loot to bring back to you. So it's a really cool feature, especially if you're trying to get a friend to help you to get some of the better loot if you want, but overall it's just nice to have. Now the gameplay, like I said, is more action oriented, where you have enemies that are going to have particular weaknesses. However, the pawns do get a bit of annoying because they never shut up. At times they are providing useful information which is great during battle, such as, oh, here's a goblin, his weakness is fire, and now your sorcerer is providing you with a fire buff unless if you're a sorcerer yourself. Information like that at times in the heat of battle is great, but a lot of the times you're going to be on an open road to your next destination. It's going to be a bit of a long travel, and all you're going to keep hearing is harpy goblins, or whatever the case may be, but they just never shut up during the small moments, which you can disable that in the options, but is not recommended, especially if you're at an upcoming boss fight. You won't know exactly what kind of information they're going to give you, such as weaknesses. But overall, the gameplay is nice. There's even some inclusions of games like, for example, Shadow of the Colossus, where you have big boss battles. Of course, not as big as that game, but you're also able to climb on top of them, deal damage, and there's various of different ways to go about it. But overall, the conflict was great. The pawn system was unique, something I did like, but at times does get annoying. And of course, the different vocations of which you could switch up at any point in time once you go back to the town is really interesting to see. So it's really up to you to explore on the different aspects and kind of go from there, but I definitely encourage trying everything around to get the full experience. As for the sound, the game does feature a fantastic soundtrack that I felt was done perfectly. For example, the moment you start off the game, you are greeted with this peaceful music at the main menu that you could sit there and listen to all day and night. However, once you're actually in the game, I felt like they had tones to match everything. So what I'm trying to get at is that the soundtrack was at the right place at the right time, whether it be at the heat of the moment, during an epic boss fight, or when things are slow. Just everything fit perfectly from start to finish, and it was really enjoyable to listen to. Now, as for the lifespan in general, the game does have a decent lifespan due to the fact that it has many different pathways to a variety of different endings, so the possibilities are endless, especially with the different vocations in which you get to use and experiment, and of course trying out the different pawn system. There's just a lot of different things in which you can experiment, which you're going to find a decent amount of lifespan depending on how you handle some of the issues that the game tends to have. Now, going over the innovation, they definitely introduced some new mechanics, and of course at the same time obviously borrowed some mechanics from other titles, which worked out quite well. The pawn system in its way was very unique, however the game does suffer from a few different issues. For example, starting with the pawns in general, is that the pawns never shut up. True, at times when they are working together, they are providing useful information and of course helping you along the way, but when things are slow and you have this long journey back and forth, which of course is another issue due to the fact that there's no fast travel unless you have this special type of crystal, which is very rare to find in the game, just get really annoying. Of course, on top of that, you have the washed out enemies that they keep rinsing and repeating over and over again, so as you're traveling from one destination to the other, you just constantly hear harpy, goblin, harpy, goblin, harpy, goblin, and it just really gets annoying to the point where you just don't want to travel anywhere. You just want to stick to one area and one area only. The other issue that the game tends to have is that the story is lacking a bit. The game does start off strong and it's very interesting, but at the very end it doesn't really satisfy anything, even with the multiple different endings in which you get to experience. But other than that, the game isn't too bad if you're able to get through the annoyances that the game does throw at you. Overall, you are in for a really nice experience, especially with the enjoyable combat and the really nice vocations of which they utilize in this game, especially the pawn system. But in the end, I'm going to give Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen a 7 out of 10. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment section down below. Until then, I am Sir James from Gamerfuzion.com, where we empower your gaming.